been a bit of a week for me. And my eyes are a little bit clogged with tears. So I'm not always able to see very clearly what I'm reading. I tried to memorize it, but only got so far. We had just this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday night here at the parish. Our children from the grade school, they performed amazing songs and stories, a Christmas pageant, Christmas music that was so amazing. Maria Lewis, who's the director of the choir, had really done such an excellent job with the children. They had no music in front of them. And some of the songs that they were singing were in different languages, and there was one song that the choir sang that had 8-part harmony. And it was just glorious. And as I looked up at the children, I could see their faces, and their faces were filled with wonder. But I also was able to look out at the parents, the grandparents, the uncles and friends and aunts, and their faces were filled with joy. It was a wonderful thing to see as the parents, the grandparents, and all the relatives and friends were looking at these children with such affection and love and grace. I thought that's just perfect for this time of the year. It's perfect for Gaudete Sunday, for the pink candle, for this time of year when we are so close to the Christmas season that we remember Emmanuel, God is with us. So I was in that afterglow on Thursday, and then getting things set up at school Thursday night, when we were struck by a tragedy at school. We had a student who very tragically died Thursday night. And so we gathered Friday morning in absolute shock. And you could just feel that gut punch take the wind out of the sails of all the staff and students. And we were walking around as if we were in this kind of trance. Father John Fuchs, who is one of our priests who oftentimes is here along with Father Jerry and Father Lamana, Father Fuchs spoke to us and he said, in the midst of this tragedy, we have to remember the following. We look to Emmanuel. And Emmanuel literally means God is with us. Not God was with us, not God will be with us, but God is with us here and now. In the midst of the joy Wednesday night, in the midst of the tragedy on Friday, God is with us. God never abandons us. And what God does is He enters into our humanity, enters into our world, not to fix us, but to journey with us. We're still broken. My heart is still broken. But I know I walk with Jesus. I know I walk with God who Himself entered into our lives, was broken by hatred and sin, and persevered and rose again. I believe that in the depths of my heart. And what Father John said that day helped restore my hope, if not my joy. The joy will come, but the hope is restored. Each of the readings that we heard today were written at a time of pain and sorrow and suffering. Isaiah, the first reading, the northern kingdom had fallen to the Assyrians, and Judah was surrounded by Egypt and Babylon and Assyria. They were in danger. And yet what does he say? The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because He has chosen me to proclaim glad tidings. In the midst of everything that they were dealing with, Isaiah was able to rejoice. Paul, a prisoner in Rome, writes to the people of Thessalonica, telling them to rejoice in the midst of their circumstances, because God is with them. Christ is there. No matter what happens, He calls them to rejoice. This Sunday, for one of the very few Sundays in the entire year, we sang for our psalm response the Magnificat from Luke. Mary proclaims the greatness of the Lord. She rejoices in God, her Savior, who has looked upon her in her lowliness, and now she will be called the Holy One. Blessed. Mary's land is surrounded by enemies and occupied by Rome, and yet she rejoices knowing that God is ultimately in control. John, who wrote the story of John the Baptist, John, when he wrote this, was in exile in Patmos. He was not free. John the Baptist would soon be arrested and executed, and yet they still rejoice because they know that God is in control. God has this in his hands, and he wraps us in his arms. Friend and enemy alike, God gathers us together. Today, as we hear these readings and as we approach that season of grace, this one candle, this pink candle, reminds us that Christ is not just coming. Christ has not just come. Christ is here now. And for that we rejoice. He's here when we celebrate Eucharist. He's here when we proclaim word. He's here when our children sing to us in these beautiful songs of joy at our Christmas pageant. He's here with that group of children downstairs gathered together to hear the word. He's here with all of us gathered in this sanctuary. We haven't been fixed. We're still broken, and yet we are loved into life. And for that we can find a little joy, a little grace. So here's my request for all of you during these final 7 days, basically leading up to Christmas morning. Find the joy. Live the joy. For many of us, it's been a tough year, but we are never, ever abandoned. Emmanuel, God is with us. And for that alone, we can continue to rejoice. And if you're wondering where God is with you today, look to your left, look to your right. See the people who are here. In the faces of friends and strangers, God is present. We don't only receive him at communion, we receive him in community. And that is a wonderful gift for us as a people of faith. So may faith, hope, and love guide you in these final days of Advent. And may the light of Christ, the light represented by this Advent wreath, may the light of Christ guide you through the dark times into the rejoicing, and I'll say it again, into the rejoicing of Christmas Day. God bless you all.